Hello, everyone. This is Kayla Ambrose, and welcome to Dream School. This is a webinar tonight talking about dreams and about my book, The Awakened Dreamer. There's a question area here on the webinar and a chat area. And as the evening goes by, feel welcome to type in your questions there or to put something in chat. And what I'm going to do tonight is talk a little bit about dreams and a little bit about my book, The Awakened Dreamer, and what's in there. And then I'm going to leave plenty of time to answer your questions about dreams. So if you have a dream that you want interpreted, you want to know more about, you want to know how to interpret your dreams, you want to know secrets about visualization and daydreams, any of that, this is the place to talk about it tonight. So write down your questions if they come to you, while I'm talking about things, if it brings things up, and I'll try to give plenty of time for everyone to ask those questions. If someone could, I'm going to type here in the chat and just say hello. If someone wants to go ahead for me and help, type in the chat or type a question, just so I know that you're here and you're hearing me and that you're seeing the screen as well. I'm sharing the screen with some slides, so good to know from someone that you're seeing it. So let's get started. So basically, this is the Go Get Your Dream in 2018 webinar. And I love talking about dreams. I've had dreams since I was very young and could remember. Thank you for the hello. I appreciate it. And hopefully that means that you're seeing the screen as well, that you can see the slides for everything. So thank you for that. And with this webinar, what I want to talk about, some is about my experience, being able to remember my dreams since I was very little and being able to understand them. And if you followed me in other courses or other books, like The Awakened Aura or my book, The Awakened Psychic, this is the third in the series, The Awakened Dreamer. And each of these books began for me with notebooks that I kept throughout my life, starting in my childhood like journals. So I'm a big fan of writing things down, taking notes, and using it later to pull that information from and see. And I really, really encourage you to do this with dreams, because many times when you have the dream, you'll be in a emotional type state. And so you may not be able to interpret the dream as well as you would want to. But if you keep it and look back over time, and I always recommend putting a date on it as well, so that you know when you had the dream, when you look back, you'll see over the course of time what that dream was trying to tell you or warn you about or teach you. So as you do this and you keep your own notebook, you're going to get much better at being a dream interpreter. This book, of course, I wrote to teach you and give you exercises to show you how to do this, like I teach my students in my school, which is the Academy of Mystical Arts and Spiritual Sciences. And I have courses there on each of these books and other courses as well. And next up will be Dream School. So if you find at the end of the night that you really like dreaming and you want to know more and you want to learn how to be a real awakened dreamer, we'll talk about that as well if you'd like to study with me. But the Awakened Dreamer book shows you how to remember your dreams, how to interpret what they really mean and what they're telling you, and also how to use your daydreams, your visualization to manifest things that you're desiring and wishing to do and to bring those into reality. And I love teaching this course now at the beginning of the year because that's what a year is. It's 365 days of possibilities and potential and creating whatever you want and being that dreamer. And when we understand this consciously, that we have a choice every single day, whether we're going to get up and go for our dreams and proceed with passion and purpose, or, let that day slide, that's our choice. But every day we're given this potential and this possibility. So the most important thing to start is how to remember your dreams. We all dream. It's been proven scientifically that we all do, whether we remember it or not. And if you've ever watched someone else sleep, or if you had a pet, maybe a dog, and you watch them sleep, you'll see when they're in the dream state. You'll see the movement of the eyes really quickly moving. If you have a dog like mine, he might whimper or bark like he's chasing something in his dream. His little legs move like he's running in place. We all dream. Anything that's conscious dreams. And so the trick is to learn how to remember your dreams. dreams. And it sounds funny, but the easiest thing to do is to begin by asking. You speak to yourself, your higher self, before you go to bed, and you say, I want to remember my dreams. And if you work with spirit guides, you reach out to them as well, to your guide, and say, please help me to remember this dream. And you begin by training your mind to say, I will remember my dreams when I wake up. And then what you do is, if you wake up, even in the middle of the night, you need to get out of your sleep phase for a minute and write it down, or keep a recorder and record it very quickly, whatever works best for you. Some people talk into their smartphone and record it. Some have a little night light they turn on and write in a book. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't have to be long. Just a few of the images that you remember. Man, building, moon, sky, rainy, sunny, daytime, in a field, in a city, in a place I don't recognize, in a home I used to live in. You write down some of those details. And sometimes it's easier just to draw a picture. Say you had a dream about your grandfather, and he was looking for a lost dog, and he was outside, and he was at a place you had never seen. You might just sketch out what the area looked like, draw a stick figure like grandfather, draw another little figure like a dog, but lost dog, and write just a few code words that'll help trigger that so that you remember the dream. And the more you do it, like anything, the better you're going to get at it. And this is a full chapter in the book that I dedicate to that, showing you how to do the exercises so that you remember your dreams. Once you begin to remember them and you've written them down, the next question is, what does it mean? We all have these random kind of off the wall dreams, and we're trying to understand. So in the back of the book, I've given a little appendix with some of the meanings of dreams. And there are whole books that are dedicated just to that, where you can get like an encyclopedia of dreams to see what it means. I've given some of the most popular that people dream about, those descriptions in the back of the book, to help you. And that's the first step. You're like, oh, I dreamed about a butterfly. What does that mean? I dreamt I was flying. I dreamt I was falling. I give those types of descriptions. But then you go much deeper, because next what you want to understand is what was happening in the dream. Even if you're falling, let's say, there might be a generic description saying when you fall, this is what it means. But there's a lot more detail to look into this. When you were falling, what did you fall from? Was it super high up off a mountain or a cliff? Did you fall out of a office building, a skyscraper? Did you fall from a tree? How high up were you falling? And then when you were falling, how long did it take? And what did it look like? Did you see the ground below? Were you looking around you in the clouds? Were you looking in the windows of the office building you were flying from? Did you notice other things? Did you fall quickly, or did it last a while? How was your body in the fall? Were you diving with your hands out, like diving into a pool? Were you falling on your back? Were you face forward looking as you were falling? There's so much depth in every dream, and every part of it helps you interpret what these dreams are. And so you write down as much detail as you can, because every little bit of it is a clue. And when I do a dream interpretation for a client or a student, this is the depth that I go into. What color was the sky? What was the weather when you were falling? How did you feel emotionally when you were falling? Did you ever reach the ground, or did you just fall and then wake up? Were there other people falling with you? Were there a lot of buildings around you? Did you fall from a tree? Did you fall from something and then see a tree and the tree stopped your fall? You grabbed hold to a branch and held on to the branch. Was the branch big or little? Everything is a clue telling me about the state of your dream. And then what I go through next is to help you understand what type of dream it is, because I've broken them up into categories. And the first one, like I say here, is daily life dreams. Those are dreams about things that we're experiencing in our life. And our subconscious helps us work them out at night. So maybe you've had a very stressful time at work, and then you go to bed and you sleep and you're dreaming about issues going on at work. Well, that doesn't take a lot to really understand, does it? You understand you're processing that. But your dream can really show you what you're most concerned about, and at times enlighten you as to what other people are doing or thinking in those dreams. So let's say you're dreaming about all your coworkers and wondering what's going on at work, and one person keeps standing out in your dream. Maybe she speaks out a lot, or she keeps doing something distracting, or she keeps coming by your desk and messing with your papers in the dream. Those are hints showing you what's really bothering you at the deeper level, and which we'll explore in a minute if it's an intuitive type dream, showing you where the problem might be coming from with the way that people are acting, what they say in the dream, what they do. So it's very important with your daily life dreams to write these down. They're giving you a hint of what's going on, and they're a safe place for your subconscious to help your conscious mind kind of deal with this, to kind of understand what's going on and release the stress. And as you learn more about this and you're aware of your dreams, you can then look at that to see, okay, what am I most worried about, or what am I afraid of? And so then you can get into that dream and go further with it when you're awake and realize what you may need to deal with that's stressing you out in the daily life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's work, or whatever it is that's affecting you. The next type of dreams that I describe out of the 4 is prophetic and recurring dreams. And almost everyone's had a recurring dream. If they remember their dreams, they almost always can tell me a story of this dream. A lot of times, for some reason, a real popular one is you're in a house and you're hiding or running from something, or you're out in the woods somewhere and you're seeking something, looking for something. You almost get there, you see the light at the end, you see a doorway, and you're just about to get to it, and every time something distracts you and you don't go through it. Or you're running from something in the woods and you don't see what it is, but it's chasing you. Maybe you hear it breathing and moving, the feet moving towards you, whether it's an animal or an unknown thing, you don't know. But you're running from it. And these recurring dreams repeat often, trying to get you to understand something about what's going on again in your life, or to help you have a breakthrough that may have started in childhood with a fear or an anxiety or a concern, and you're still facing that, even though in your adult phase you're logically understanding that's not going to happen anymore because you're not a child, but those fears still remain within our consciousness, and we may have pushed them aside, but they come out and they're triggered sometimes, and so we'll have that recurring dream until we get the message. Okay, just checking notes here. Thank you, everyone, checking in and sending me some notes. Okay, so with prophetic dreams, what you see is intuitive psychic ability. You're dreaming about something that's going to happen. And when you have these types of dreams, you really know, because it's beyond what you know informationally. Let me put it that way. So you dream something about someone that you have no way of knowing that's happening, or you dream about something in the future that then comes to pass. Those are prophetic dreams, where you're dreaming about either information you have no way of knowing or something that will happen. And these are usually pretty powerful, and they can be recurring as well, because Spirit is trying to get this message to you. And if it's something that you're interested in, you will continue to have these dreams. And if you ask for help, either asking directly your higher self, or whether you ask your guides for help, you can ask for more information to go deeper so that you understand, and then you know what's to come with it. So both of those are very powerful. I've had prophetic dreams, again, since I was little, and have taken notes about them and learned more over time how to handle them, what they mean and what they do. And sometimes they can be really wild when you're trying to interpret those as well. Again, with the more practice you do, the better you get at it. The next type of dreams are described as teaching dreams. And what I also say to my students is going to night school. And as you open up spiritually and you're working on your dreams and you want to know more, it's a great way for information to be downloaded to you. And all of us, whether we're working on it or not, get these types of dreams sent to us. It's a download of information from the other side, sending us things that we need to know. And when we're asleep, it's an opportunity where the conscious mind is not racing all the time and is running. So what happens is we're more open to receiving this download of information, and then it will come through more dreams as we have them and filter through. It also comes through many times the next day when we have a thought that's an inspired thought. We're like, oh, I've got this idea. We wake up and we're like, I know what to do now. I know what to do about this. We call it an inspired thought, but many times that information came from our higher self and the other realms through our dream state and was imprinted there into our consciousness, so that when we're ready at that point later, we can take this information and do what we will with it and put it forth into something that we're looking for with help in our life in that way. And the next type of dreams are visitation dreams. These are the ones that are the most amazing, because it's when people in spirit or spirit guides come to visit us. Sometimes it's loved ones who have passed in spirit and come through. Other times it's spirit guides or others who want to get a message again to us, and maybe we're not open enough yet as a medium to engage with this when we're awake. So again, when we're in the sleep state, it's the easiest way to get the message through, where we're just kind of open. And so these visitation dreams many times will be loved ones who are trying to tell us something or guide us or help us. And again, you can ask for these directly before you go to sleep. You can open up and say, I would like so-and-so, my loved one, to come visit me in my dreams, if possible. And you create the space. And in the book, I give exercises how to create the sacred space. You can create an area where it feels safe and comfortable as a space to go. And then you are able to do this and go into that space knowing in your dreams when you're there that those which are meant to come, and you do the white light prayer like I mentioned in my book, and you say, for highest and best, only, those that are meant for my highest and best can come here and visit me. And you can have very, very interesting dialogues, conversations with loved ones on the other side, as well as your spirit guides. Now, it takes a while. You want to go through the exercises I present so that you build up and get stronger with this and that you're able to do it. And as you do, it will get more in depth. You'll have longer conversations. You'll be able to ask questions and hear them. Sometimes I do have to say that sometimes you may ask for it and it won't happen. And it's just because they can't come at that time. And I wish I could say I knew every reason why, but I don't. There are things that are still mysteries between the connection on the earth plane and the other side. And the more I work at it, the more I research it, the more I look into it. Sometimes the deeper it goes, or peeling back the onion, as we say in the mystery schools. And sometimes the more I learn, the less I know. It's always an adventure and learning more. There are certain times of the year where the veil is thinner, and I teach about that in my Wise Woman year-long course, how certain cycles of the year, and even astrological cycles and moon cycles, there are times when it's easier to get that message back and forth across, like going between, very slow Wi-Fi connection to having hardwired high-speed internet. So there's a difference of how quickly you can get the information back and forth. And just like weather, that affects things like that. So there are times when you can really ramp up this information and get it through clearer. But there's also times on the other side where they're in different planes and they can't come through at one point or another. And I've had some clients that were really upset because they had been to many mediums and different people and tried in their dreams and couldn't get a specific loved one to come through. And so they thought something was wrong, and that's not always the case. Many times that loved one is in a certain plane where they're doing other things and just aren't allowed to come through at this time. maybe it's not for their highest or best or your highest and best. There's just a lot of rules and things that we're still exploring between these planes of existence, and how we can communicate and how often and how clearly. So it's a work in progress, but it's good to try. Many people have wonderful experiences with that, with loved ones coming through. Next in the book, after I explore those 4 types of dreams, I go into being more interactive in your dreams. And this is called lucid dreaming. And this is, say, the next level up. You're not new at working on your dreams anymore. You're remembering your dreams, you're writing them down, you're doing a lot of work with them. And then you want to become more conscious in your dreams, where you have even a better sense of what's going on in your dream. And in lucid dreaming, you become aware, some part of you, and we're talking about our higher consciousness and our subconscious. Some part of you on that level becomes aware that you're in a dream state and becomes the observer of the dream. And so much so that when you practice lucid dreaming and do it, you then learn that you can affect the dream. You can be in a dream that you don't like and you can stop it. You can freeze it. You can say, change it. I don't want to be dreaming about this, and change the whole dream. You can change parts of the dream. Like, I don't want this person here in my dream. Let's bring this person in and let's change the conversation to this. It's complete control, almost like interior design. You're redesigning your dream. And that's what lucid dreaming lets you do. So it's the next level up. I touch on it quite a bit in the book. But in dream school, when I teach, I go much deeper into that, because obviously it's a more intense practice to learn how to do. But it is fascinating work. I love to do it and I love to teach it. And I find lucid dreaming fascinating. We can't talk about dreams without talking about the other side of dreaming, which can be nightmares that we've all had. And for some of us, sleepwalking and sleep talking. And I share a lot of personal stories in the book of times when I was younger that I did sleepwalk and I sleep talked. And I would answer questions when I was sleep talking in the dream to people, and about things that I had no knowledge of. One was when my mother, her career, she was in the oil and gas industry in Texas. And I was sleeping in her room one night, and she had gotten a phone call for work late, and they were asking about information to do with, she had been out visiting some of the oil sites that day to see the progress, and they were asking some technical questions. And she had the phone turned up where you could hear that person asking the questions, but I was asleep. But my consciousness, my subconsciousness, was hearing this person ask the questions. And as she was flipping through her paperwork to find the answers, I was answering the questions out loud. And I think I was like 13 at the time, and I had no knowledge of oil rigs or maps or geology or what was going on with an oil rig. And she didn't come home and talk about this type of work either. And I was answering, like, the depth is at this, and drilling went for this many hours at this capacity, and then this core was reached, blah, blah, blah. Crazy technical things like that. And she finally had to wake me up, and she said, stop talking. I'm on the phone with this person, and they're asking who this is in the background answering these questions, because this is sensitive, private data. And so she sent me in the other room to go talk to my grandmother, and she came out, and, it was fascinating, but still, at the time, it was just, where did that come from? Later years, as I was in a mystery school and I was working to work more with my dreams and understand these things, I practiced again and would again get that type of knowledge. This time it was about technology and computers that programmers knew, and at the time I didn't, and I would answer very deep questions about things like that. So it's fascinating, because when you're in that phase of dreaming, you're basically pulling information out of the global consciousness, and you're answering questions about things that you don't have to have any personal knowledge about. You're in that relaxed dream state, and you're pulling that information. And Edgar Casey's probably the best example of this, how he would go into that dream state he would be asked questions, and he would pull from the higher planes information that his secretary at the time would record and then type up and send to the person who had written the letter and wanted the answer to those questions. And it's something with practice that many people learn to do. I write stories about sleepwalking as well when I would do that. And I explain a little bit more about nightmares. And most of the times, nightmares are when we're very upset, or a lot when we're ill, physically ill, or we've eaten something very rich or heavy at night and our stomach's trying to digest, and it causes those nightmares. So I explain in the book how you can discount a lot of those as those things, and when it's different, when it is something different. Many students have asked, about being under like psychic attack, or, someone trying to influence their dreams or things like that at night. So I explain the difference, and these are more rare. Most nightmares are born out of fatigue or illness or digestive issues, or just deep worries that you have when you're very worried about something and then you go to bed. Moving on, and then in kind of the second level of the book, I moved from talking about dreams at night into manifesting your daydreams, and how you can take these tools once you learn to become a conscious dreamer, and then use visualization techniques to take what would be something you've only, quote, dreamt about and turn it into a reality. How to get that dream job or house or vacation or lifestyle or partner or whatever it is that you want, how to actively take those dreams and put them into your consciousness so that you start to attract that energy towards you, and it's in line with everything that you're doing with your work. And this goes beyond what you might call the law of attraction, because you're putting a lot of action into it, and you're working consciously with these dreams, bringing them into being. And it's fascinating to work with this. And that's when you're becoming like the next stage of a dreamer. Number one is remembering your dreams and writing them down. Then you begin to interpret them and understand what's going on. Next, you break them into what kind they are. Are they daily life dreams? Are they prophetic dreams? You then move into lucid dreaming if you want, think of that as an elective if you want to go into that as well. But if not, then you move into how understanding how to be more consciously aware of your dreams and how to activate them. And so I talk about a lot of exercises in the book about this and ways that you do this, even to get a simple bit of help with an idea. And I write about a lot of geniuses and inventors and entrepreneurs that for thousands of years have used these dream techniques to do this. And, for as long as mankind has been around, we've dreamt. And this is not new to interpret dreams. In the times of ancient Greece and Egypt and many of the other cultures, there were temples that were set up where you went to have your dreams analyzed and interpreted. If you've read my Awakened Aura book, you remember I write about these temples. And when you would go to a temple for healing, they would first put you in a place where you slept, and someone would sit with you there and help interpret that dream and have you sleep and then wake you up when they saw you were dreaming and get the information, because it would guide them to what was causing the disease and the discomfort in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit. So this has always been done. One of the techniques that's really old that still works as well today is when you've got a problem and you can't figure out the problem, and you're thinking so hard and it's just not getting there, and you push and push and push. And the more you push, your brain just locks down. You don't get the answer. So what you do instead is you walk away from it. You walk away and you go sit somewhere for a few minutes or lie down, and you're going to ask your conscious mind to kind of shut down and to be open to a quick nap where you're going to have a dream. And you ask specifically to get an idea in this dream. Now, a lot of people do this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, at the max 15 minutes. I really think 5 to 10 works best in a lot of cases, because you either get it or you don't. And it depends, though, how quickly you can fall asleep. So once you train yourself again, you'll get better at this, where you fall asleep in this little cat nap. And what you want to do is you either hold something in your hand that's comfortable, but a little heavy, so that when you drop it, it'll make a noise that's loud enough to wake you up. I hold a little copper ball and in my hand, and I sit in a chair, and I program my consciousness that I'm going to find the solution to this problem. Ask my guides to help bring that solution, and I sit in the chair and fall into a meditative space where I drift off. And as your body relaxes enough, where you're in the dream state and your body's fully relaxing, your hand opens up and what's in it falls out and hits the floor, and that wakes you up. Unless maybe you're on carpet, and it might not. You might need to have something like a squeaker noise or something that wakes you up. The reason to do that is once you wake up, you instantly remember the dream, you've got the idea, and you're like, yes, okay, that's what I'll go do. It's like a reset of your brain when you do this. And for modern day times, what a lot of people do instead of holding something in their hand is they just use their smartphone and set the timer for like 10 minutes. And then it goes off after 10 minutes and wakes you up, and you have the idea. And if you don't get it within that time, you need to come back and try another again. Don't go right back in for another 10 minutes. Wait a while and try it again to see. Sometimes even taking that break and just doing that and shutting your mind off, when you go back to whatever your problem was, you're renewed in that way as well, and you have a better idea. I like to say that the best dreams happen when you're awake. And that, to me, that's all about believing in the power of your dreams. And not just the dreams at night, but your daydreams as well. And when you engage with them consciously, you have the power to activate both. You can lucid dream, change the outcome of your dream at night while you're sleeping, giving you new ideas. So you could dream about a problem in your life, and if you're lucid dreaming, you can say, hey, this is going on. I keep having this dream. What if I change it this time and I ask this person the question instead, or I do this differently, or I move this around. So you can see all the potential and possibilities in the situation, which opens your mind to more expansive, evolved thinking. This is when you become what I call the awakened dreamer, because you're aware that nothing really is as it seems. Nothing is really finite and in control. And it's a little scary to think about nothing's in control, but it's a little freeing as well to understand that everything is fluid and that you can kind of pluck at the strings of it and change it. You can change what's happening. You can change your feelings about it. You can change a lot of things that may affect the outcome. And this is what we understand when I teach my students in Wisdom School and my Academy of Mystical Arts, understanding the difference between free will and your destiny. And there are certain things that are perhaps destined in your life, that are your destiny, that you came back here to do and experience and what will happen. But free will allows you to think, feel, and act differently during these things, and then to understand that sense of what your power is in that way and how you can affect it, because you can change part of the outcome by doing these things. Hopefully that makes sense. And I know I'm going through all of this really quickly, so any questions that you have about that, if you want me to elaborate when we start here with this, we'll just jump in and do. So you're working at this point to remember and interpret your dreams. You're now aware of your dreams at night. You're aware of your daydreams. You're becoming the awakened dreamer. And what this means is you're stepping into a new form of consciousness where you're aware that there is a you, the higher self, that's connected to what we call the higher self soul on the higher planes. And when you come down here into earth, you are that little portion of you that drops into the body, what we call the lower self, the ego, the lower self, the conscious mind at that level, which breaks apart into the body, mind, and spirit. And what you're working to do with this as you become awakened is to understand the connection between the lower self part of you here on earth with the higher self part of you in the higher planes, and to create stronger cords of communication and interaction so that you can get information from those realms and take that information and have a more inspired and empowered life and ability to decision make and to be more consciously aware and to do things. And dreams are one of the easiest ways to do this because you already have them. They're already coming to you. They're trying to give you hints and show you what to do and what's going on in your life. So when you listen to them, it really becomes like your own little personal psychic because they are intuitive. They're coming from that higher self of you that knows more on the other side. And that part of you wants to explain and help you and guide you. And once you learn to trust them, it's very empowering in that way. So, this is a little bit an overview that I wanted to give tonight about dreams and what they can do and what you can do with them. And I'm going to take questions now and see what you want to know about your dreams. And if you're interested in more, on February 7th, I'm starting Dream School, which will be 3 weeks of study about dreams and going deeper. If you want to learn how to lucid dream, you want to learn how to remember your dreams, you want to go deeper with any of this, that's what Dream School will take you into to do. So, okay, if you see the chat there, there's an area with questions or there's a chat. If you want to start typing in your questions there, whether it's a dream you want interpreted or any questions you want, I'll be happy to answer. I'm also going to pull up this information here on my website just to let you know. If you go to exploreyourspirit.com and then you go under Academy up here and drop down into Dream School, this will take you to where you can register for Dream School. This starts on February 7th and learn more. And it gives a more detailed description here about what we'll talk about, the types of dreams, what we work on, what the webinars will be like, how to remember your dreams and interpret the symbols and the metaphors, how to connect with your dreams, and to go through these, and explains the presentations each week and how we'll work together, and you'll have homework and things to do. Okay, I'm not seeing anything in chat, but okay, here's a question coming up. I have recurring settings for my dreams. Are these places I've lived before? Okay, that's interesting with the recurring settings. So it depends, and I'm going to say this with every dream we talk about, but it depends on what you feel in that recurring dream. If it's like some people have a, dark and scary place in the woods where they're running, and that's usually the conscious mind dealing with fears in the subconscious that are trying to create that sense of fear that you're feeling lost in the woods, lost in the dark forest, lost and unable to make sense of your surroundings. That's more of a symbol of the fear or anxiety. If it's a dream recurring that you're always in the same house or always in the same place and you recognize the location, that is many times a past life. I had a recurring dream in childhood where I was always standing on a cliff, and the cliff was really high up, and when you looked down the cliff, you saw the ocean and the rocks below. And I would turn back and look, and I would see the house back behind me, and I knew I was living in Scotland. And though I didn't see anything there that said, hello, welcome to Scotland, I knew it was Scotland. I knew the clothes I was wearing. I just knew I was in Scotland. And I would go out to that cliff a lot to think about things, to deal with things emotionally that was going on in this lifetime. And so I kept asking about the dream as I got older because it would recur. And finally, the dream played itself all the way out where I went to the cliff one time to look, and I was arguing with a person, and that person ended up shoving me, and I ended up falling off the cliff to my death. And that, that was a whole memory there. And as I dealt with this person in my current lifetime, who I then was able to put together who that was and dealt with them with some of our issues emotionally, once I did, that recurring dream stopped. So it was there trying, as I call when I read people psychically or read their auras, I see karmic markers. Sometimes they're people that come back in your life. Sometimes they're situations that you repeat, things like that. And so this was a karmic marker that had been set in my energy field for me to have this recurring dream. And once I connected with the person that dream where that had happened in my past life and worked through it, the dream itself disappeared and went away. So I hope that answers your question. I would need more information about the dream, directly to tell you more about it, but that's an overview. Okay, next thing, how can you tell the difference between a true visitation in your dream and just a dream about someone? Great question. When you're visited by someone in the dream, you feel the energy in the dream, and it's more like they are gazing upon you and they're there, and it's a sense. It's almost like when you get goosebumps or, just feel the air shift around you. It's a presence. And many people feel this if they've ever dreamt about what they call an angel or a spirit guide or someone. Even when a loved one in spirit visits you, it feels that way. There's a magnetic energy that's very strong, and there's kind of a light around them, and you feel the energy. Versus when you're just dreaming about someone that's past, it's usually more acting out a situation, an argument with them, or a sweet dream you had that you used to go, do something with them or shop with them, or it's a memory dream like that. There's always, with the visitation, you're affected by it and you remember it stronger. It's a sense that someone from a different plane visited you. And if you've had it once, you won't forget it. You'll remember that, and you know the difference. It's just intuitively, Are there dream patterns that could indicate the dream is past life related? Yes, a lot of times those will be the recurring dreams, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. And there are certain triggers as well. When I would have this dream about Scotland, for example, there were things that I remembered, again, that I shouldn't remember. So if the dream's past life related, you're being intuitive again, that you know things you should know. I've never been to Scotland, but I could pretty much draw you a map of where this was. I knew it. I knew, like if I could go to Scotland and get a car and get on the road, I could find the village and the area and the place. There were things that felt so much like it was my life that it was so real to me. And that gives you a tip that it's past life related, because you remember those details. Versus a dream that you're just having about something, like, I could have had a dream that I was just falling, and I wouldn't have recognized the things as much. And it wouldn't have felt the same way. In the past life dreams, you're aware of all these different things that you know about the background of who you are, why you're there, why you're dressed like you are. Sometimes, a hint is really that you're in different clothing and things of a time period. But you just know more. You know more about that life when you pay attention to the dream. Hopefully that helps with that. Okay, I had a dream where I was going to a meeting in another building, one that I had not been to, and was going to the 18th floor. That's great detail that you remember the 18th floor. Everything like that is a clue. That's wonderful detail. The elevator was going up. However, the closer I got to the floor, the elevator slowed down. I was anxious that I was not going to be able to get to the floor the meeting was on. We did make it to the floor, but there was a lot of anxiety we would not. I woke up before getting to the meeting. I've read about the meaning of elevators in dreams, but usually it is that they are going down. What does this mean? Okay, well, elevator dreams mean, which is good, you want to have a dream that it's going up. When you dream that you're going up in an elevator or an escalator or climbing stairs, it means that you are evolving. You are moving up to the next level of ability, of consciousness, of mastering something in your life. So if this one was for a meeting, and let's say a meeting, I don't know what the meeting was about, but let's say it was a meeting for work. And let's see, I think you added some other detail here. Let me see. By the way, I was on the elevator with other people I work with. We were going to a meeting with the boss. Okay. So this was for work. So there was some anxiety about where you're going to get to the 18th floor. The 18th floor is a much higher level, right? A much higher floor. So you were going on this. It was a big meeting. You were meeting with the boss. He's seen at a different level because he's the boss, and that's where you're going up to. the dream was giving you hints that it was taking longer than you thought. There was some anxiety about how it would be perceived, but you did get there. And so it's showing you that in this case, to keep persevering, slow and steady wins the race. It may take a little longer than you thought, but that you're going to get there. I would then go back and look at that dream and see how the other people in the elevator were. Were they calming and helpful? Were they ready for this meeting? Were they panicked? Were they, rushing into the elevator last minute? Were they helpful to you? And then I would look at how you felt. Did you feel ready for this meeting? Were you excited about it? Did you see the opportunity? It's showing that there's an advancement coming your way. Part of it could be about how you look at yourself and feel about yourself and your career, and that you're ready to stretch and grow and get a promotion or advance, and also how you feel about how you're being seen by others and how successful it will. And you can go back now and ask for this dream to go further, to ask for help with that and say, show me what happens at this meeting, and get some insight in that way to see what's happening there with the meeting and what's going on. Okay, next one. I have a recurring dream of being in my grandmother's house. She is not there, but I can feel her presence. This is a great dream. You first have to look at your grandmother and what she meant to you. I go back and have a lot of dreams in my grandmother's house as well, and actually in both grandmother's houses. Now, one was a grandmother I was very close to, and I had great memories there, with being spoiled by your grandmother and loved, and just knowing you were loved. And I find I go to that place a lot when I'm in a place in my life where I need some comfort, or just kind of to know that everything's going to be okay, and that I'm being nurtured, even though the people in my life might not be directly nurturing me, to know that I'm never alone and I'm being nurtured. And a lot of times I go back to her house where I feel safe, and I play things out in my dreams. The other grandmother wasn't that type of grandmother for me. She wasn't nurturing. She was more strict and serious and things like that. When I go to her house, it's a completely different experience, because I'm playing out some anxieties that I have, or some worries, and her house always appears darker in the dream. There's a problem, and I'm aware of the problem, and I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing it and sensing it. So the most important thing to look at is what does your grandmother's house mean to you? And do is it a good feeling? Is it, what does she do for you? The fact that you can feel her presence means that she probably is wanting to communicate with you and come through in spirit, but doesn't feel maybe that you're open yet to that. So she creates an environment, and I talk about this in the book. When you're trying to contact loved ones and spirits or spirit guides, they often create an environment that's a safer place for them to reach out to you. So where she may want to get the information to you directly, and she wishes she could just appear and say, hey, this is going on. Instead, she creates the home where it's a place where you might feel relaxed, and the clues are there in the dream sequence. So if you want to move on from that, as you learn to lucid dream, or you want to ask before you go to sleep with your grandmother, just say, I welcome you to appear in my dream and to get the message to me more directly, if you're comfortable doing that. And so you may find that you'll be able to change that dream and get more direct information. But those are great. We have those a lot, especially with someone that really impacted our lives. And many times it's the grandparents over the parents if we've lost our parents, because we receive the information easier from grandparents or others than parents. Sometimes we feel too much like judgment, or we don't take that advice well from our parents. And so the grandparents are a softer way to get the information across, so they'll take that form. I go deeper into that, talking about how, our loved ones pass on, and they're over there with their higher self soul, but they still reincarnate and come back in different ways, and are back here in our life in the real earth plane as well, already reincarnated, but we can still touch them and reach that other part of them that we know is our grandmother, because likely your grandmother's reincarnated back as well in this lifetime. depending on how long ago she passed. Okay, next question. I had a dream back in 2000, shortly after my brother passed away, and I was dreaming that I was at a friend's home from childhood, and there was a tornado hit. And I was furiously trying to put everyone in the storm basement, but there was no room for me, so I went into the garage and hugged the water heater so hard. Nothing was happening, so I quickly looked out the garage window, and it was almost upon us. The next moment, I woke up, and an elderly woman greeted me in the house and took me to my dad, who had crossed over in 95. And then my mom came and greeted me, but she is still with us. I asked the woman if I had died, and she nodded yes. My dad and mom went with me into another room, and we saw a young man nervously sitting alone, and I asked my dad why he was alone. I then woke up, but it was so real to me that it kind of haunts me, to tell you the truth. Just wondering what that was all about. Okay, that dream was very intense, so much that you still remember it very vividly with all the detail, given that, that was 18 years ago. And so whenever we have someone pass away like that, we're working through all those emotions and fears and anxiety and all of the pain. The tornado is significant of that chaos. It's showing how something can just drop out of the blue with no warning and completely tear our life apart. We, as humans, we tend to deal with things by thinking that we have some control and we, are doing things and this is what will happen. But as we see in life, when someone dies, especially suddenly, or things change in our life, someone leaves, there's a breakup, a divorce, a job change, a death, a move for some reason, those things take us out of that feeling of control and comfort and realizing that anything can happen at any time. So the tornado is really showing that, how it comes out of the blue and rips everything apart. The putting everyone in the basement, now we just talked about that with the elevator going up. In this sense, it went down. So basement is energy dropping down below the normal level, say the first level of a house. So there's an awareness of the effect that it was having on these other people, and that they were in deep grief and pain and feeling lost and had dropped their energy down into that lower place. There was no room for you there, as you say in the dream, because their grief and pain was so intense that you were doing everything you could to take care of them, but there was no room for them to acknowledge in the same way, or to be there for you in the sense you were being perhaps the stronger one, taking care of everyone, handling things. So you stayed on the first level in the garage and hugged the water heater. And the water heater is water, which in dreams we interpret as emotions. So you're hugging this big container of all of your emotions so hard, just trying to keep it together so you survive. So you woke up, and there's a woman that greeted you in the house and took you to your father. So she was a guide for you in spirit, coming to you, trying to show you what was going on there, and to know that there were people on the other side that were taking care of things and were looking out for you even as you were feeling lost. So she took you to your father, and because your mother was in no place really probably to engage emotionally with you in her grief of losing her child, she came to you in her higher self manifestation, in that connection through your father. And in that dream, probably if we could look at it deeper, your dad was trying to acknowledge in some way that he knew what was going on, that perhaps he had been there to take care of your brother during his passing, that he was still connected to you and your mother and the family. And he was trying to show you all of that, in that dream. So when you asked her if you had died and she nodded yes, there is an understanding that when we go through something very traumatic and upsetting and big, like losing someone we love very much, it does feel like a part of us has died. Our life is forever altered. When we lose loved ones, that sense of who we are and that connection with that immediate family, a piece of us is missing. And so that part of us, in a sense, has died. And so a part of you that recognized who you are as a person through the eyes of your father, through the eyes of your brother, those two puzzle pieces that are integral parts of your life are now gone from the earth plane. So it's a sense of missing and loss that feels like a mini death in that sense. And that's, I believe, what was trying to be communicated. The young man sitting alone, and you asked your dad why he was alone, you were probably getting a glimpse with your dad in what they kind of call the waiting room, when people cross over and they're waiting to meet a loved one or their guide or whoever's going to greet them when they pass on and go to the other side. And you may have seen a glimpse of that into that waiting room. And depending on when we pass away, what our beliefs are, there's always someone there to greet us. But if we pass away with guilt or thinking we don't deserve to go anyplace well, or that no one's going to be there for us because, maybe we feel guilty about something, we create that experience for a little bit on the other side. So you may have gotten a glimpse into this and seen this man who looked nervous sitting alone, only because he may have been believing that, he may, sometimes when people first pass, if it's sudden, they don't know that they've passed. So there's a little bit of confusion, and he could have been in that confusion, or he may have passed with the belief that he had done something very bad and there would be nowhere for him. But that won't stay that way. It will dissipate. It's like energy burning off in the aura. And then there's people there waiting to greet him. He just couldn't see them. So in a nutshell, that's as quickly in this phone call tonight that I can interpret that dream, but hopefully that gives you some insight with that, what's going on with that. Okay. If an ascended master comes to you in a dream to deliver a message, Jesus, for example, is it really the master, or is spirit simply sending an image of someone we would listen to deliver the specific message? The answer to that question is yes. So yes, because sometimes spirit does send an image of someone that we would listen to, and that would get our attention or would make us remember the dream. So if we're attached to a certain master teacher like that would get our attention, that, Jesus, or for some people like the Pope or a saint, if they're Catholic, that comes to them, or another religion, whether it's Buddha, one of the Buddhas, or something like that, or an angel, many times people get that image. Sometimes it's the image just because it makes a profound effect on your consciousness, and you remember it and say, I have to pay attention to this because an angel told me this, or Jesus told me this, or whatever. Then there are other times when ascended masters do come to you in a dream. And again, it's going back, like I was saying, if you wonder that question earlier, is it really the person in spirit coming to you, or are you just dreaming about a person? There is a profound difference that you will feel on the physical, mental, and emotional level. If an ascended master or any higher level being comes to visit you, you will feel it. You will feel so much light around them. When you wake up, you cannot be upset. You are smiling. You are transformed, even if it's just for a minute. You are aware that you've been in the presence of something that's light and pure and loving, and you're just soaking in the energy it left behind, the love and the light. And you're just so aware that this was not a person. This was not something of, the normal energy of other people around you, that this was an enlightened, powerful being, and it has a profound effect on you. And, I've worked with many people that have had the dreams, and they always will relate that, the difference. And it's almost like their message is imprinted on you, that you never forget it. My husband had a dream like that once, where he had an ascended master come to him, and he woke up just completely changed, never forgot the dream, always was aware now that this person was aware and, aware of what he was doing. And it had a profound effect. And usually it does. If an ascended master comes like that, it has a very profound effect on you. Oh, you're most welcome. I'm happy that I was able to help there in that dream. Okay, so we're about to wrap up here. It's been an hour. That went really quick. hopefully I've answered your questions. And last chance, if anyone has a quick one, you can put in there. I'll try to answer one more before we wrap up. But if not, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so supportive of me and my work and reading the Awakened Dreamer book. And I'm a wisdom teacher. As I say, I'm your travel guide to the other side. I write these books because I'm just so passionate about helping people realize who they are on a deeper level and what we're all capable of, and that we're conscious creators. And when you delve into these things, whether it's dreams or the aura or psychic ability or any of the things I teach about, that there's so much more that you can do with it. And that's what I'm on a personal mission to do, to educate, to entertain, and to inspire, really to empower. I want to empower people to know who they are at such a deeper level. And so if it calls to you, I'd love to see you in Dream School. If you want to learn more and how to do this, just go to my website, exploreyourspirit.com, click on the Academy and Dreams. And this starts in February on the 7th. And for 3 weeks, and I'd love to explore deeper with you, where we learn about this, we practice how to do it, and we interpret your dreams. But again, thank you so much. All of your love and support, I appreciate it. And of my books. And if you've enjoyed the book, if you want to help an author out, trust me, we all beg for this as authors, but a review on Amazon, a very positive review, makes all the difference. And even Amazon will share the book more, and it helps other people who are wondering if this is a book that's helpful or good or something they should read. It just helps them there with the reviews. So if you have the time and inclination, I would dearly, dearly appreciate that so much. And I hope to see you in Dream School. And if you're not part of my Facebook group, I have a private Facebook group called The Awakened Psychic. You can reach out to me on there and join the group, where I chat about things on there. And of course, on my website, sign up for my free newsletter if you'd like more information about upcoming events like this and new books and new webinars and things going on. And I thank you so much for your time and wish you all very sweet dreams. Thank you.